Alright y'all, welcome back to the channel and do some more turkey patterning, and today we've got another test putting two chokes head to head with an ammunition that we've tested a couple times. We know these are some good shells. This company used to be something fantastic, but I don't know that any of us can really get any more of these shells. I've still got a few of them left, so I might as well test them for you guys, but I really wish we could still get some stuff from this company, that's for sure. There's some stuff I wanted to test that I didn't get the chance to, but we'll see how it does through these couple chokes today. But first, for the shells we're running, I brought out some of the Viper ammunition 410 turkey loads. Now Viper, a couple years ago, used to be some of the best hand-loaded TSS that you could really get. They had a website, you could order it through their Facebook page and stuff like that, and the last I checked, they weren't really fulfilling orders, and you can't really get in contact with them anymore, and their website's not there anymore, and overall it just looks like you can't really get these shells anymore, unfortunately. This box was sent to me by Joseph a couple years ago. I still have a couple shells left in it, so they're worth a shot to try anyway. However, these are a 410 2.5 inch 11/16 ounce payload of TSS 9.5 shot at about 1135 feet per second. These were one of the best youth loads that we've really tested. 410 in general is a pretty light recoiling, perfect for youth or a new hunter type of setup, but these really make for a good shell, and they also pattern pretty good, just like everything else from Viper did. But we'll see what they like as far as the two chokes we've got today. So for our setup, I brought out the Mossberg 500 410. It's got a Simmons Pro Target red dot on top, 24-inch barrel, and we've got two different chokes to compare side by side. Those being these two. We've got a Patternmaster Code Black Turkey. This is a 381 constriction, and we've got a Jebs Extra Full. These are supposed to be 385. Mine measures 384, so a little tighter than advertised, but still pretty close. These two chokes have been phenomenal in our testing, but I don't know if we've ever tried a 9.5 shot through them, nor a 2.5 inch shell at that either. So we'll see which of these two chokes works a little bit better with these 2.5 inch 9.5 Vipers. Will they like a little more constriction in the Patternmaster or not? I don't know, we'll see what happens. But for our test today, we're running everything the same as usual. I've got both turkey targets set side by side at 40 yards and the chrono to get our velocity. So let's get you guys to view that target. We'll take both shots and we'll see what these Viper 410 loads might actually be capable of through the Jebs and the Patternmaster. I have a feeling we're going to see some good patterns, but let's take our shots and see just how good they are. Alright, so quick run through for our velocity. Boss claim is 1135. We were not quite seeing that from our 24-inch barrel. Through the Patternmaster, we had 1026. And with the Jebs, we had 1101. So a decent little spread there as well. But from what I can remember, I think they usually average just under 1100, 1060, 1070, something like that. So this is kind of the normal spread for them, I believe. And it is perfectly fine enough velocity inside of 40 yards to do the job. So let's go check out our targets and see which choke actually won out. All right, so here we have our two 40-yard targets side by side. We have the Patternmaster 381 on the left and the Jebs 384 on the right. We definitely see some pretty interesting results here. But yes, this is an obvious reason why you always zero your red dot or test your bead sight with the shell and choke combo you plan to hunt with. Because we were dead on the money with the Patternmaster and favored a little to the right with the Jebs. But both of these are great patterns. So first, let's move in here and look at our Patternmaster. We absolutely covered that paper and shot, no doubt about it. That is a dead bird any day of the week at 40 yards. And for a 410, again, like I mentioned earlier, these are about the perfect youth type of combination. They have zero recoil. 410 is already nice to shoot in the first place, but a little 2.5 inch shell like that at a little lower velocity like these are, it's just a joy to shoot. That's 40-yard capable, but it might be a little more open than what we get from some other 3-inch higher payload TSS shells. But we do have a pretty nice core going on here. You can see, know where that bird can move to and get away from you. There might be a couple little smaller void areas within there. Nothing major necessarily, but they are there. And the farther you get to the edges, the more they show up. There's a good one at the top left corner, a good one kind of off the left center of the target there, and that kind of continues. We have a flyer at the very bottom, and just a few more little straggly, splotchy bits over there off the right as well. But that is still a great pattern for what the shell is. We have seen tighter from these shells for sure. My stock 380 constriction choke in that Mossberg actually gave us a really condensed, pretty nasty looking pattern. But this is a little bit more on the open side. However, I like that pattern. It did perfectly fine. Not much to complain about, and that would be a pretty good all-around combo. It's tight enough for 40, but it might give you a little more leeway at 20 yards or so. So I really like how the Patternmaster performed. But now here we have our Jebs 384 extra full. We did favor a touch to the right, but we still have a dead bird. There are multiple through the brain and several more down the spine, so you can see it does give you leeway. We might have a little bit more splotchy of a core area. There's kind of a hot zone right on the edge of the target with a little bit thinner area up towards the top right corner of the target there, but there's still pretty good even coverage for the most part there. And moving back and looking at the entire pattern as a whole, I think the Jebs is a little bit tighter of a pattern. We do have several little strings and flyers, mainly over there off the left, and it may not be quite as even of an entire spread, but I do think the Jebs, for the most part, is a little bit tighter than what the Patternmaster gave us. And that's a little bit of a surprise. Usually the 9.5s prefer the little tighter choke. Either way though, both of these patterns are very capable, and I wouldn't hesitate to run either combination. But now I'll pull down both of these targets, I'll finish drawing all of our circles, and we'll really get a good idea on what these two did and which one actually won out today. Okay, now we've got our turkey targets out of the way, we've got our circles drawn, and we can definitely see a little bit of a difference here. Both of them are still good patterns, but I think what I was looking at earlier is probably a little bit correct here with how tight our cores are versus our overall pattern. So first up again, we have our Patternmaster 381, and within our 10-inch circle, we have 92 pellets there. Nice even core area, no major voids or anything in there. Might have a little bit of a thin spot on the left edge, kind of over towards 9 o'clock there, but that core looks pretty nice. Outside of that, with our 20-inch circle, we have an additional 112 pellets within that, and that is kind of the representation of your hunting pattern leeway, and we still keep it relatively even until you get to the very outskirt edges of it, kind of still over here towards the bottom left corner. So for what it is, that's a fantastic hunting pattern. I wouldn't hesitate to run it, but we still have a bunch of stuff outside of the 20-inch circle as well. Just a few little splotchy bits here and there. Nothing necessarily too major. It's all pretty close to where you want it to be. So it is a perfectly usable hunting pattern, but what we saw with the Jebs gets pretty interesting. And here that pattern is. We've got the same 10 and 20-inch circle. Inside of our 10, we have 86 pellets compared to 92 with our Patternmaster. So pretty close, but the Jebs doesn't have quite as good of a core area. You can see the top definitely gets a little bit thin up there, and it just doesn't look quite as tight in the dead center of the pattern as what the Patternmaster did. Now outside of that, with our 20-inch ring, we picked up an additional 129 pellets compared to 112 with the Patternmaster. And I think that is where the big difference comes into play. I definitely think our 20-inch ring is a little bit fuller than what we got with the Patternmaster. We might have a little bit of a thin spot down at the bottom right corner of it there, but outside of that, we definitely have less pellets around the edges. The ones we do have over here might be strung out a little farther than what we saw with the Patternmaster, but there's fewer of them there. And I think overall, you have more within your 20-inch circle. Still, very huntable pattern, no doubt about it, but that just goes to show that I think we were probably right. We might have a couple more little void areas with this Jebs, but I think the overall pattern is tighter. So again, here are your two patterns side by side with each other. Both are great performances. Both would make a phenomenal youth pattern, and even any one of you adult guys out there as well, you could absolutely hunt this combo. If you're an older gentleman that may be sensitive to recoil or something, these would be great shell. However, like I mentioned earlier again, I don't think you can really get any more of these, unfortunately. Viper made some good stuff for sure, so it's a little bit disappointing. We may have seen a tighter pattern or two from these shells, but both of these are great great performances. A 2.5-inch 410 load that can do that at 40, I wouldn't hesitate to run it. For a core, I think the Patternmaster wins slightly, but for an overall pattern, the Jebs is a little bit tighter, I think, at least around the edges. So pick your poison, either one is great, and I don't know if there is a super clear winner today. I guess technically the Jebs might have squeaked it out, but to each their own on this one. I'll let you guys decide overall, because both are perfectly fine. And here we have our two wads. The Patternmaster is on the left and the Jebs is on the right. Not really much of a difference between the two of them, that's for sure. On the Patternmaster one, you still have a little bit of cork stuck in the bottom with what looks like 2 or 3 pellets down in there. You don't have that with the Jebs, but did those couple pellets make a difference? I don't really believe they did. Overall, very much the same kind of performance here, and they're pretty similar patterns for the most part, so nothing I'm worried about or interesting to see here with the wads. Alright y'all, well, what did you think about this performance here? For a 2.5-inch 410 load, I'll take either one of them. Both of them are perfectly adequate patterns. I really wish Viper was seemingly still making stuff. I probably wouldn't advise you to try and spend some money and get their stuff. I don't even know if you can get contact with them anymore, but if you can, I don't know that I would really trust it necessarily. They've kind of disappeared as a company, to be honest with you. So a little bit unfortunate that nobody can probably get these anymore, but for what they are, they pattern perfectly fine. We've seen a tighter pattern or two from them, but either one of these would make a phenomenal just general turkey hunting pattern for anybody. Youth, beginner, somebody that doesn't like recoil, any of the above. Out to 40 yards, that's a dead bird all day long with either one. So maybe a little bit of a mixed bag here, might be a little bit of personal preference. Patternmaster had a touch better core, but the Jebs had a little bit tighter of an overall pattern, so either which one is gonna do you just fine. Whichever you have or whichever you prefer would work, no question about it. I expected there to be a little bit bigger difference than what we saw here today. Those two chokes are two different constrictions and two different styles. The Jebs is a smooth constriction on the inside when the Patternmaster has steps, so really not that big of a difference overall. But at least these shells are pretty consistent when it comes to pattern performance across the board, it seems. So leave all your thoughts down below. Is that about what you expected to see? Were you a little surprised one way or the other? Have you tested any of these Viper shells, or have you been able to get any from them recently or get in contact with them or anything like that? Are either one of these a pattern or a combo you would hunt with? And if so, which one would you take? Which one do you think won? Which one do you prefer? And is there a clear winner between these two? As well as what other combos might you want to see us run like this, whether it be comparing these two chokes, or I've still got 1 or 2 of those Viper shells left, so maybe what setups or combos do you want to see us run those through? Let me know all that down below. But with that being said, I've got some more testing to get done for you guys, so I'm going to get back to it. As always, you have the channel Instagram as well as the mailbox where you can send stuff if you'd like. All the information will be in the description if you're interested in it, but I'm going to get back to it, so I'll see y'all in the next one.